What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the data points, what's moving it, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid is down slightly, 0.11%, 1785 the low, 1925 the high, and 13.3 million shares being traded, 9.1 is the average. So definitely good to see a little bit higher for volume. This does stand out like a sore thumb. So you had that nice spike to roughly around 1984, 83 during the pre-market, and a lot of that had to do with this right here. So you did have Jensen coming out and saying that Lucid alongside Stellantis and Mercedes are going to be one of the first automakers to adopt NVIDIA's drive Hyperion. So kind of matches with Lucid's big announcement yesterday, which was this on how they're going to be working with NVIDIA to allow consumers to have autonomous level 4. This is going to be for future mid-size models. Unfortunately, you can see that there is a certain level of hesitation. So Lucid put out some pretty kick-ass catalysts, but both times, even yesterday and during the pre-market, it just gets dragged back down. So there's a certain level of hesitation, I think, coming from institutions really willing to kind of get in. One thing that Lucid did put out, not in any form of news, of course, because Lucid doesn't do that as much as I would like, but today, no news, no SEC filings, but on social media, they love social media, they put this out saying that San Fran is going to be their first market for that whole Uber Neuro type of partnership. Keep in mind, they did mention in their last earnings that the whole Uber deal is going to be really commencing mid to late 2026. So don't anticipate any crazy updates like let's say next week or something, but I think generally this is good. This should have been official news in my opinion, and then you might have had algorithmic trading really starting to buy it up, but nonetheless, at least they're putting it out there. So this is definitely good stuff. Unfortunately, the broader market is starting to get dragged down a little bit. So you did have that 25 basis point cut that was anticipated, but unfortunately, Powell is saying a lot of very doom and gloom type of situations. One is labor market deteriorating, and so that of course isn't good for anyone. Plus, they haven't really made a decision about December for the interest rates, and if anything, he kind of doubled down on the fact that they are now neutral. So not really willing to kind of cut, nor really to rule out hikes. So that literally was not what the market wanted to hear at all. And so yeah, I think in general that's not all that great. Plus you did have especially most recently Bank of England really warning about personal credit, and I think I've brought up that occasionally on this video because when it correlates with autos, but still that is starting to spook the broader market. So once again, Powell does strike. Aside from that, and technically the good catalyst, you are seeing shorts really double down, increasing 1.38 million. 30.82% of the free float is being shorted, works to be 39.1 million shares overall being shorted. Cost of borrow average 13.95, a little bit higher than what it was yesterday, but still nothing really significant because that's an annual rate, not a daily rate. But aside from that, you are seeing about 1.7 million in calls, 4.09 in puts, and then 64% of all the options being done are somewhat neutral in nature. A lot of that has to do with just the amount of money getting into Lucid. It kind of eats up both the bid and the ask. So again, something just to kind of keep in mind for that. But aside from that, from a bull standpoint, you still see a consensus for it to be kind of around that 19 to 1950. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub roughly $16. So you kind of have that give and take a little bit. So we'll have to wait and see how that does all play out. These are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. And this is why I like to look at volume, where it comes from. No different than yesterday. Yesterday, you did see a lot of good buys on the secondary market. No different than today. Even first thing, 3.4 million. So big money is getting into Lucid. Regrettably, you're having algorithmic trading really suppressing Lucid, as well as most stocks out there. So this is why when Lucid has these spikes is very short-lived. Plus, at the same time, shorts kind of tend to really hit Lucid hard during these points as well. So it would be advantageous, like I said, if Lucid put this out in a official news format, then that way articles, more people will be talking about Lucid, and algorithmic trading will interpret that as positive, really moving it higher. So let me know your viewpoint on that. But of course, Lucid doesn't do that, like I said. But with it right now at 1806, smack dab in the middle between this pivot and this S1. So 1765 is going to be a strong support. 2119 is going to be the next strong target / resistance point. So this is something I brought up, I believe, in my weekend video, that we should be most likely touching one of these points. We do, on a side note, have a lot of big companies putting out their earnings after hours today, so that could be a good catalyst dependent on how things play out, for instance with Microsoft. But I think Powell, he tends to have this effect on the market, just causes a lot of unnecessary fear. And so this is most likely going to roll over into the next couple of trading days unless one of these companies really hits a home run. Aside from that though, quickly, just to give you an overview with Lucid's upcoming earnings on the 5th, it is anticipated to have an implied move of around 12.42%. So working out to be like a 226 move in either direction is anticipated. So should be a lot of volatility. Either we get back to the 20s or we completely break down on a technical standpoint. But aside from that though, on the actual chart, it did show some signs of optimism that it wanted to really move higher, but regrettably Powell and just the broader circumstances did really drag it down. So it goes to show that Lucid really does want to move higher. So over the last 2 days, it's tested that 10-day moving average. So like I said, it really wants to move higher, but broader market just is crappy. But on a positive note, looking at the market position, especially comparing yesterday and today, you see a lot less willing sellers. So all Lucid needs is that nice little push. Of course, as per usual, Lucid likes to put out news when the market is kind of shitting itself. Pardon my French. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think Lucid for sure, based on a lot of their most recent updates, is moving in the right direction. But I think in order for you to see back to like that $24 range, you need short-term catalyst, something that is happening and did actually already happen. But yeah, it is what it is. That's always been Lucid though. Aside from that, stochastic RSI, very oversold. So a good piece of news. Like I said, you will see a nice spike, and potentially if big money gets behind that, that could really kind of continue a lot higher. No new analyst ratings. So last one did come out on the 17th, but anticipate a lot of ratings because of their earnings. So that should be coming out sooner rather than later. And then based on the flow, you see a lot of algorithmic trading as well. So that's what's making up for the good amount of volume today, but still comparing what it normally is, you're seeing a lot more institutions involved today. Let me know your viewpoint on Lucid. Are you buying? Are you selling? What's your kind of general thoughts on Lucid? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.